Bam.
This is Michael Klassen, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
That's how we get down. I did Michael's show, I don't know, a few days ago or whatever it seems like. I don't know, maybe it
That's
was two
right.
weeks ago. It's hard to keep track, man.
It is.
And I had such a good time talking with you. I thought I'd share you with my audience, maybe
Thank you.
get folks to pay attention to your show as well. Thanks for having me on your show, and I'm super stoked to have you on mine.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun. Man, we ran the gamut. And like you said, I was talking to an older friend of mine who's become a fan of the show, probably because he's a friend of mine and is a supportive guy. And he said, Mike, that was a hell of a podcast episode.
Oh, good, good. That's what I want, man. I want folks, the thing is in our world, and this is true across 100 different disciplines, you
Yeah.
can be one of the very, very best in the world at what you do. And
Yes.
nobody, I mean, billions and billions
Mhm.
of people have no idea who you are. It's like, it's amazing how insignificant something like a podcast can be, but how brilliant that impact it
Mm.
can have for someone who listens to it.
Yes. Yeah. If there's one person, the metaphor of one lost sheep, if there's somebody that picks it up and says, hey man, you can't believe what this conversation did for me today,
Yeah,
put a wind in somebody's sails or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Your show, I mean, the name of it, 5 a.m., because you guys are on, is it on radio when you guys push that out?
Um, no, we started first and then we got picked up by a radio station in Atlanta and they gave us the 7 a.m. spot, which is for us is 5 a.m. local time.
Yeah,
But we had the name 5 a.m. for a long time, number of years,
yeah,
2018. And I love early mornings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sunrises are wonderful. Sunsets are great too, but
Yes,
if you catch a sunrise, then you can get both, and that's really
that's right.
nice.
It sure is.
Yeah. How was your show done? Like, what's it been like, the learning process
Mm.
on because you start somewhere and you're like, "That's where we're going," and then you're
Yeah.
like, "Not where I went at all."
That's right. It kind of is. We decided, we always knew, and by we, I mean my wife, Susan, and we always knew that we wanted to do something like this. I've spent my career in broadcasting and a few other things. And we always knew we wanted to do this. And we tried working with a few other people like 10 years ago, and that you fall into the pit of trying to be helpful. And
Yeah,
you realize you're building somebody else's dream, but you were hoping they're going to like throw you some sunshine and it doesn't happen. So we had, like I said, we had 5 a.m. podcast as a name and a website for a number of years. And then, we were able to start at the end of last year. Time opened up as it does. And I just love getting together and having a conversation with somebody that's got a great story to tell or,
yeah.
can, yeah, just put some wind in people's sails and be that rising tide that raises all boats.
Yeah, one of the benefits of what we get to do is we get to learn repeatedly, maybe the same
Hmm.
lesson, access to
Yeah,
other lessons. And I have my mind blown, but not at the same rate that I used to because,
yeah,
there's just thousands of shows and you've been doing this for long enough to have the same
yes,
experience.
yeah,
When something blows my mind though, I slow down and I go, wow, that's blowing my mind. And that's saying something because again, I've had my mind blown a whole bunch of times.
yeah, yeah. I often think of our show as I'm picturing my one of my grandfathers going to the local coffee shop in the farming community
Same
and
deal.
everybody sitting around the table and talking about experiences or pitfalls or how they got out of pitfalls. And that's really how I view 5 a.m. podcast is we're all just kind of in the diner, and as you do,
Yep.
you eavesdrop on the people behind you,
Yeah.
and you finish your lemon meringue pie and have your coffee, and
Mhm.
your day's better because of the people you got to meet with.
Slow down at pie and coffee. Oh my God, what a
Yeah.
delight that is, right? Having
Yeah.
it. I mean, when we built our show, John and I, and we started talking, it's like we want someone to lean in from the other high top next to
Yeah.
us, going,
Yeah.
"What are you guys talking about? What is
Yeah.
that?" We wanted to blow people's minds, but also just make it a very accessible thing.
Yeah.
Because of we're both folksy guys. Now, John doesn't do the show as much as I do anymore. It's my show now, but
Right.
um, he still does a version of it. It's just called real life. He
Okay.
just, he walks around the street in our little hometown where I grew up and where he's from, and just he's the king of that place because he's just so interesting and can have a conversation with anybody.
Sounds like he might be the Kramer of the neighborhood.
Yeah, very much so. He plays drums in all the bands that play on the little main street in our little hometown too.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, he's just connected in a way that is it's really neat. But the show, he always was like that. But the show really accentuated what he was doing and gave him clarity. And he doesn't do the shows much anymore because he needed to do other things. And really, I kind of Paul McCartneyed him out of the show. Or like, I had my brilliance. I'm doing
Uh-huh.
this. I'm doing it well. He's like, you don't need my help. Like, let me go do something else. And and my podcast has changed my life. The people I know, the
Yeah.
friends I have, I
Oh
still have
man.
I have a lot of friends, but um, it's enriched me in so many ways that I could never imagine. It's you must have the same thing.
Oh yes. I love it. I love it for the fact of who I get to meet. And back in my news days and sports days as a career, I mean, you get to meet these athletes or these engineers that are working on wild and crazy things at a university, and
Hmm.
your life just got better. And I'd come home and I'd be like, man, Susan, I just leveled up today. I learned XYZ about this weed that they're
Yeah,
making. Whatever this research is doing, or these next top running back or something like that.
yeah,
And so the friendships we make and the information we get, I mean, sometimes it feels like I should be paying my guests, like, I don't want to give them any ideas, but like
yeah,
$250 for that hour, because they save me some couch time at the psychologist's office or
yeah.
something like that. And it's just what podcasting has done is it has helped us to realize we don't need the celebrities in our lives because we have each other.
Yeah. Boy, that's great. That's great. And you also can have celebrities in your life. They're accessible,
Yeah,
you know.
totally accessible. Yeah.
And those that don't, hey, it's fine. Like, not everybody wants to talk to everybody, and for a
Yes.
lot of people it's work. When I'm talking to celebrities that are promoting something, I do my best to not ask them the common question. We may or may not talk about their project, and if I do plug it, I plug it in a way that's like, hey, pay attention to this. Okay,
Yes.
let's quit talking about that and let's get back to the interesting stuff, but
Yeah. Yes.
um, I don't want it to be work for them.
Hmm. Yeah, just that conversation. And I'll often share with people about a fellow by the name of Jim Mattern that I used to work for. And he was we'd call him our executive producer, station manager. And what a delight to have been able to learn from that guy who spent his years in news gathering and reporting and managing stations. And he said to me, Michael, I see the diligence that you put into all those questions, and you're going out to this news scrum or this interview. And he said, you can ask the first question and wrote down, but I need you to listen. And none of your other questions can be the ones that you wrote down. I want you to have a conversation and find out who the people really are and tell their story.
Mm. That's smart. When we had Andy Summers on the show, when John entered, and John's great at this, he's like,
Mm.
okay, so we've got Andy Summers. I don't even do intros, right? John does all the intro. I don't. We didn't do one today, right? Everybody's going to figure out how to look up Michael Klassen, and
Yeah.
all that. So I don't worry about it. But John
Yeah.
does, and he's like, this is Andy Summers. He is a musician, a multimedia artist, a photographer, and so tell us what's going on. We didn't talk about the police. And eventually we got there, right? But did he
Yeah.
bring it up? Did we bring it up? But we weren't going to, we certainly didn't say, are you guys going to get back together?
Yeah. Right.
And if we did say it, I'd be like, let me ask you a question. And it would be a joke to ask that because they don't want to talk about shit from 40
Right.
years ago. No, we're
Yes.
not getting back together. And if we do,
Yeah.
we'll let you know. Quit asking.
Yes. I think that's like Gnarls Barkley and the song Crazy.
Hmm.
That'll put the end to any conversation with CeeLo Green, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I've talked about that 1,000 times. And what we got to instead with Andy, here's me
Mm.
being the guest on my own show. I should
Yep.
shut up.
No,
But
no.
I'm like, so you're an artist. Where are you supposed to be? Like, where are you? He's like, I'm not supposed to be anywhere near you. Yeah, I know I make people uncomfortable with my art. That's my job. I'm way over there, and you guys have to figure out if you want to come to where I am.
Mm.
But you're going
Hmm.
to have to experience this thing. And so he's not worried about, like, he's fortunate. He's not worried about popularity. He's worried
Yeah.
about art for art's sake.
Yeah.
And man, that is a great lesson because sometimes you just don't need to worry about abiding
Yeah.
popular things or traditions. You have to find where the work is, and for him it's way out there where it's uncomfortable and crazy.
Yeah. Yes, and art in whatever media form it is. I mean, some of the stuff that we see is popular because it's paid for to be in front of the eyes, and it's paid for it significantly through like fiat currency, so to speak. Other
Mhm.
art is paid for in the blood, sweat, and tears of the creator,
Right.
and then that is the stuff that just gets endeared and I don't know, even timeless, because I think art has a function and a lifespan and a job to do,
Mhm.
whether it's music or painting or sculpture or something like that. And some stand the test of time, but it's so fascinating what we can get out of a song and what the generations get out of a song.
Sure.
And yeah, I totally get that.
I was on a show today on their show, and it was about music and improvisation.
Hmm.
And I met the guy on Podmatch. Podmatch, by the way, anybody who wants to
Yes.
get on shows or host people and get people on your show, it's a great service. I'm not
Hmm.
plugging it to make money because I'm not putting
Yeah.
a. You guys can go to Podmatch, figure it out. But it's really, I love it. I love
Yeah.
the wide variety of things it gets to do. But we were talking about the evolution of songs too. You and I are both old
Mm.
enough that our teenage brain, like if I watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High and I allow
Yes.
my boy brain to enjoy it, man, I love that movie. When I watch it like a parent, I'm like, oh my god, no, 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 oh my god, oh no, some guy's daughter had sex in a fucking little league dugout. Like
Yes.
I don't know. If you're gonna have sex, can we do it somewhere? Come over here at the house. I'd rather you don't, rather you wait. But if you're gonna do it, can you not do
Yes.
it with the guy from the stereo? It's crazy how different that movie is. And music too, where you can evolve and go, oh my gosh, this song has so much more meaning when you sing it from the point of view of someone who's 55 years old, like I am.
Yes. And I got to tell you, so this past weekend, this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
I liked a little bit of rap and hip hop when it was coming out in the mid 80s. And I would play stuff for my parents, and they'd be like, "Ooh, what is that? Get that away from me!" But my older brother and I were at mom's house doing a bunch of. It was a work bee for mom,
Mm,
so she's got this gas station car wash. It's been there as long as we've been in that town, so it's older than we are. My older brother's friend he was the guy that worked at the neighborhood car wash, so they were having this bikini car wash fundraiser for a cheerleader school or something like that. And it was like the absolute, in my mind, my early 50s mind, it was like, that is the worst music. Uh, it's really funny. Couldn't they play some classic rock for crying out
right.
loud? Yeah.
Right.
But, tastes change. Eardrums receive certain
Well,
things.
and also, if I go up to a cheerleader bikini car wash today, I'm just wash my car. No, 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 take the money. I don't, no,
Yeah,
just, nope, nope, not interested. And not that I can't like stand to look at him, but
of course.
the whole thing is awful. It's like,
Yes.
just don't do it sexy. No, 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 just wash my car. Just wash.
That's, that's all I'm looking for is a clean car.
Yeah,
And
I'm just trying to raise money here.
I joked with my older brother. I said, that's not a bikini car wash. That's like 20 years of child support payments right there.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, but it is funny how things can change and become sweeter or awkward or whatever it's going to
Yes.
be as
Yeah.
as we get older. What do you do to prep for guests? Like, but before you had me on, how much work
Hmm.
did you do?
Oh, well, I love to do my research,
Okay.
and I want to know who the person is. I want to be able to craft a good introduction. Um, but I want to have questions that actually mean something and that will actually lead us down this conversational path.
Mm,
And some research is shorter than others. I'm used to getting yeah. So I should preface that with I'm used to getting like electronic field press kits. I'm used to getting uh, information from publicists, people that I can say, hey, do you have a headshot for so and so, or I need some more information? Give me a couple quotes. So I'm used to doing that from the TV days.
right.
I'm also used to writing log lines and scripts and leads for my talent. So
Yeah.
if I had my main anchor, my weekend anchor, or reporter or something, and I'm used to writing things in like other people's voices, but also knowing that I need to grab some information that I can put out there that I think will be witty or punny or it'll sell. And so I'm thankful to have that skill, because that way I can go look up, Mr. Pete A. Turner, or,
Yeah.
somebody else, Jessica L. Morris, or, got to get the right moniker in there for the people so that we know who they are. We find the information and then we can kind of assimilate it and put it together. And I love doing that.
Mm.
I love researching individuals, finding out what makes them tick, but also then we find the value in that person. And it reminds us how insignificant and important we are all at the same time.
I love it. I I essentially do no prep.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm not ready and don't respect your time,
Yeah.
but I was a spy. I talk to people all the time. It's the same thing. It's the same
Hmm.
skills. And so,
Yeah.
and I know you'll get this where I'm headed.
Yeah.
I've done the prep. I know the questions. I don't have to. I'm not worried about. And in my case, and every show is different, so I'm not saying anything about your show,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
I know I'll find the path because
Yes.
the path and I will encounter each other. And
Hmm.
so I'm just going to be hands off the wheel, and then we're going to have this conversation at a coffee shop
Yes.
with some lemon rain pie and coffee.
That's
And
right.
so for me, I and look, am I doing no prep? No, not none. I'll often read the book, but I'm
Hmm.
doing that because I'm interested in the book less
Yeah.
than, and the book probably won't inform much of the conversation anyhow.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say I do none, but I did zero for you. Like other
Yeah.
than like I looked and I saw that because there was Michael before you and there was you, Michael, and I'm like, I can't keep track of which guy's which. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I knew who
Yes.
the other guy was. We were talking about Israel and Hamas. And then
Okay.
I'm like, who's Michael Klassen again? And then I'm like, oh, I know who that guy is. I talked to him just the other day. But when you talk to 1,000 people in a
Yes.
year, they all
Totally.
just get into and so I am comfortable doing zero, if any, prep. I'll read a press release if that's the point. I'm always going to do my job of promoting the person's stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to find it. And let me tell you a story real quick, and then I'm going to shut up and let
Yes.
you actually be the guest. I had the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pleasure of going to Las Vegas and having multiple Hall of
Oh,
Fame members.
cool.
Yes, I have Bruce Trampler, who is the matchmaker for Top Rank Boxing, biggest boxing promotion company in the world, Bob Arum's company. And I had Stitch Duran on the show. Now I normally am the main host on my show. Maybe I'll have a guest host, but I let my buddy Ron, who wrote this incredible book about boxing, I let him host, and I didn't say one word. Wasn't even on camera for the Stitch Duran show. I just sat back there and I just pushed the buttons,
Yeah.
because we were doing a multi-camera. I do 3 camera shoots a lot of times when I'm remote, and it was great. And I didn't have to do anything. And I'm like, this is such a good show. And it was neat to be able to just fully produce. Then we saw Bruce the next day and we were talking. And again, I'm aware of who Bruce is. We gave us this wonderful tour, talked a lot about things. So there was some prep just by being there with him. But he was talking and I realized, I'm like, you went to Ohio University. You're about as old as Mike Schmidt. I wonder if this guy knows Mike Schmidt. And so I quietly looked up on the computer while the show
Yes.
went on between Ron and I'm like, these motherfuckers are the exact same age. They're like a month apart. And so I waited all the way to the end. The only question I asked in the entire 2 interviews, and I basically said, yeah, you're some kind of because he thought he might go into baseball GM. So open the door for me. And I'm like, baseball
Yeah.
GM. You don't say. He's like, yeah. And it was like, I've got a good eye for talent. And so maybe I'm a failed baseball GM. And I'm like, you're such a big shot with your talent eye for boxing. That's admitted, but um, you sat in history class with Mike Schmidt. And you didn't see shit. And he's like, how do you know I went to school with Mike Schmidt? I'm like, well, you said you went to Ohio University, And so I was able to cut. So the prep was in me. It was in
Fun.
there, right?
Yes.
And we had this great conversation that changed the whole dynamic about the show that we did, and it got us to a place that is rare enough to say that nobody's talked about Mike Schmidt with Bruce
Hmm.
Trampler in his career, and if they have, it didn't come out of in this wonderful spot. So when I say I'm prepared, right? Like I
Yes.
know how to go. I sent something and I'll look it up or whatever it is. And what a delight that part of that show is because I just love it. And he also has never met Mike Schmidt. No one's taken the time to introduce those two
Oh,
dudes.
interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm like, how do I fix that? So anyhow, I'll shut
Mhm.
up. But that's my fun story
Oh, no,
about
that's good.
what preparation is actually already in us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and being able to listen to your work that you've done through your military career, and childhood friend of mine, Todd, his 2 boys are both in the Marine Corps, and they were able to get into military intelligence.
Oh, cool.
And I always, or marine intelligence, I should say. But yeah, just listening to uh, the stories that you have and the roles that of getting to distilling down to the individual and not being afraid, not walking in fear, but relying on your team. Yeah, that's always I love that aspect about the conversation that you had on 5 a.m. podcast, but how that in a good way, that Chinese proverb that says when men are bumped, what's inside comes out.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we develop ourselves, and it's then we realize, oh, it's okay if I get bumped, because what's inside is going to come out. And I've been
Yeah.
working on what's inside, what I put into the cup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I often say, one of the challenges, and I don't want to be an old man, the old generations do, and all that stuff. But the fact is, you don't get to know who you are until you've been punched in the fucking mouth,
That's for sure.
and
Yes.
that can be a lot of things, right? It doesn't have to be literal, it can be proverbial, but you have to be tested. And
Yeah.
and if you don't test yourself 100%, that person's going to say, I didn't put myself into the crucible. I didn't do it and I regret it.
Mm.
And nobody needs that regret, but we cannot shake it. That's just how dudes are. We
Oh
have
yeah.
to measure up in
Yes.
something.
Yes. That going to the gym, that personal best, putting ourselves through those adversity opportunities,
Yeah.
and even coming from like a Christian perspective, it took me a lot of years of living in hard knocks to realize why it says we should count it all joy. You read that when you're younger and you're like, nope, don't want to do that. And you get older and you realize, man, I need some adversity in my life.
Yeah.
And I need to, some people will say embrace the suck. But being able to be in that crucible and that fire and be tried,
Mhm.
and you think that really hurt, but I realize I burned off some straw and some worthless stuff, and
Yeah.
I can be a little bit more refined. And those personal bests, like when
Hmm.
uh I was fortunate in one of the TV studios that I worked at. My gym was like a 5-minute drive, so I was able to say, got to go for a meeting. And, you have your phone. I can proof video while I'm working out, other things like that. I can assign people to do stuff. But being able to go there and watch some people do some things that, man, 5 years ago or whatever it was when I started going there, I'd have trouble getting all those plates onto the machine.
Yeah.
But then after your diligence and your time and
Hmm.
your struggle and the sore muscles
Yeah.
and disappointment of not being able to think you could lift what you could lift, but then
Hmm.
one day you get there and you realize, wow, I just did a seated bench press with 6 plates on there. And
Crazy.
it's like, wow, I can do what I think is unattainable or impossible. Or
Yeah.
there's I love doing deadlifts.
Mm.
And it's probably from carrying pails of water from the house to the barn in the middle of winter as a child,
Jeez.
and not being able to spill any of the water
Yeah.
that was in there. But then getting to do that deadlift, and when I was able to do 300 pounds, that might not sound like a lot to other people, but boy, that took a long time for
Hmm.
me to get to deadlift 300 pounds. And I let out this oof. And Pete, him and his wife owned the gym. He looked over, he was like halfway across. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that loud. And I didn't slam, I actually picked it up and I set it down, didn't drop it, and I let out this big satisfaction of oof, I just PR'd my 300 pounds, and I had been working towards that. And Pete looked over at me and he looked at the plates on the bar and he was like, gave me the thumbs up from across the gym, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, buddy, I earned that one.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I don't go to the gym like I used to. I used to go a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more of I'm going to take these two 60-pound dumbbells and I'm
Yeah.
going to do bench press with them. And that's 100, that's nothing, right? I'm a big, strong
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
So, but I would get every pound out of those pounds. I would just
Yeah.
squeeze the shit out of my muscles and I would blow up myself up every single time. And I'm really proud of myself on, I don't need my ego to lift weights.
Yes.
I need to be strong in a way that was functional for me. And so look, I could still throw 300 pounds off my chest back then. That wasn't a
Yeah.
big deal. But what's the point of that?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if I can control my ego and I can and then add a twist at the top of the thing, whatever it's gonna be,
Yes.
man, I really got a lot out of that. And it was hard. It's hard to do partner resisted preacher curls,
Yeah.
when you've got everything in it and you're it's all mental, because your arms are blown up, but and the
Hmm.
person is just fingertips on the bar, but you have to push through that adversity. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that makes you tough. It makes you realize what the barrier is between you and the weights being on, because the partner isn't designed to prevent me. He's just
Yes.
resisting. And then when you push through it, you're like, actually, I don't know, I believed, right? But
Yeah.
but there's a lot
Yeah.
of belief, like, I know I can defeat this. I just have to dig deeper. And sometimes you have to dig deeper. And when I really get funny and I mock people like, Jocko Willink, I'll be like, you got to get up earlier. Stuff
Yes.
like that. At some point, you have to stop that stuff. But
Yes.
there is a real power in mastering your body and mastering your mind as much as
Hmm.
you're able, so that you are free to do things, to be confident, to know that you can. It's not so much that I'm better than anybody else. I can just withstand a lot of complex, hard shit and be
Hmm.
like, yeah, that's all right. Because that's life. Life
Yeah.
is, this is going to suck. And the next 2 days, I'm going to get about 2 hours of sleep, but I've done that. And so, because I've had all of these things, my well of adversity is deep.
Hmm.
I can handle a lot.
Mm.
I got to drain it. That's the thing I've learned as an adult. I've got to drain it. Otherwise, I get really suicidal. But I have to make sure I manage what I've got, but I can take a lot. It's just now I just do it when I need to, not just
Yeah.
for funsies.
Right. And there's that Stoic quote. I was just looking up to see if I could find it. I can't. It's something along the lines of, "It's a shame for men to go to the grave not knowing what they were physically capable of doing."
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you as you were talking about that lack of sleep, I was not in the service, although that was definitely on my list when I was younger.
Sure.
But my friend Todd would talk to me about how you got to learn to sleep with your eyes open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't close
Yeah.
those eyes. But
Anybody who's been in a military classroom has fallen asleep or knows someone to fall asleep standing up. Like,
uh,
it just can happen.
yes,
So, but yeah, you learn to overcome that, because that ends up being not adversity. That's just the trial, that you have to go
uh,
through to get that skill. And so you're like, yeah, that's table stakes. Staying awake in classroom, that's table stakes. You're gonna have to figure out how to get past that.
right. Yeah, and it's very interesting that um, you differentiate between, let's say, learned behavior
Hmm.
and adversity.
Mm,
And we all have to exercise those various kinds of muscles. I know for me, it was dealing with really high levels of stress and a team that was sometimes like herding cats or wading through waist deep mud.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
we have to get this hockey game going. And I would spend the whole week preparing for this, I don't know, like a Wednesday night or a Saturday night game. And so in TV land, we'd say there's an hour of production for every minute of airtime.
yeah,
And so we would be I would be have my event would be crewed. We'd have our technical scripts together. I'd be liaising with our on-air talent and the team, and the team's media office and personnel, and learning to advocate for oneself was a
yeah,
big thing in that. But the reason I bring that up is this level of stress. Eventually it just became easier and easier of a load to bury,
yeah,
to not bury in the ground, but to carry. And yeah, it's just interesting how different people on the team would have different responses to stress. And it
yeah.
was stress because they weren't prepared, or
Uh,
somebody else hadn't tightened the 1,000 bolts that they were supposed to do. And now what do we do? What do we do? Run around with, like, in circles, waving our arms, hoping that work will get done.
yeah,
And that's not it at all. But it always I would say it would impress me how people would be able to adapt to the stress
yeah,
that maybe in their start they would have folded like I don't know, a terrible poker hand at the table.
yeah, yeah,
But yet you see how they grow through. If they're doing 38 games, there's a lot of long days. We'd work 12 hours. you'd
Yeah.
have, let's say you had your hockey season was um, November to March. It
Yeah.
sounds about right. And you'd have at least one game every week. And those would be long. Sometimes we'd be done at like, midnight. Sometimes it'd be a drive back home because we didn't have a hotel uh,
Hmm.
contract for the staff. And you'd think, wow, that was a lot of fun. That was worth it. And that was enjoyable. But yeah, those kinds of things of learning and realizing how powerful and adaptable our bodies are if we
Mm.
give them the right opportunities.
Yeah, we go camping in a place, no running water, no electricity. It's got a like a pit toilet, but it's
Okay.
just a pit, and paper, and that's it. So you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to wash your own hands. And it's wonderful. And one of my favorite things is when we get there, it's 102 paces under a load for me to walk with whatever's in the back of the car over to the end of the trail to the campsite proper, right? And then
Yeah.
you walk to whatever part of the camp, little area
Mm.
that your tent is in. But those 102 steps, that repetition of going back and forth under a load, I try to carry everything. And it's not because look, it's easier to take the wagon. It's easy. It's easy to grab someone else to help you do this thing. And anybody
Yeah.
will gladly help you. Where it's all a bunch of friends. But I'm like, no, no, no. It's my meditation. I want to
Yeah.
do this. I want it
Yeah.
to be heavy. And it's at altitude. And I want to like master my body in this way. And also just it harkens back to like the hard work that you do day to day in the
Mm.
military
Hmm.
that's invisible, right? It's like when if you want to make the Hall of Fame in baseball, just get about a hit a game, you know?
Wow.
That's it. That's all you got to do. And just play for 20 years, and you're going to probably make the Hall of Fame. And if not, you'll be one of the greatest players of all time, regardless. That doesn't sound sexy, but that's
Yeah.
what it is. So, how do you get a hit a game? Well, you do these 27 things, and you do this, and you do that. And then all of a sudden, you're now set up, if you have the mechanical skill, to master your body so you can
Yeah.
withstand. They all play through injuries. They get surgeries in the off field. How do they master that? Well, it's just step by step, every day, small things,
Mm.
and they add up over time. Every time you lift 110 pounds, your body's getting stronger. Can you get more out of that 110-pound lift? Yes. And that's the mastery of part of it. That's where the greatness comes
Mm.
from. Is just doing these. You don't have to jump 8 feet high every single time you go out. You can just go out and work on that, whatever those things are, and that's what that path
Yes.
is for me.
Yeah. That's great. And that's definitely what that idea and that concept is something that we love to share at 5 a.m. podcast of
Mm,
if you want to be at point A or point Z, well, what are the other 25 letters or waypoints on your way to getting to point Z at the end? And then you're going to get there and you're going to realize, wow, there's so much more. I'm so glad that I got here or I
mhm.
summited this peak. But wow, look at all the other peaks that we could get to in a weekend.
Yeah.
And so I love that idea of, you can if you're looking at a bunch of athletes, you can tell the seasoned basketball player, you can tell which one is the baseball player, which one is probably the QB or definitely the O line. But
Yeah.
and same thing, hockey players too. You can tell, oh, that guy's tuned his body so that he can get where he wants to be in baseball or basketball, or that guy's been riding the pine for too much, and
Yeah.
he needs to pick up his game. It's looking back now with this world of experience. Man, it's so wonderful to be able to read the books and now, of course, listen to podcasts and get
Oh
the
yeah.
information from people who've been there and say, oh man, I'm glad that I didn't go down that road when I was younger. But now that I'm on this road, man, I want to make sure that I make the most of each and every day. And we all have those friends that they make the most of sitting on the couch and playing video games for whatever reason, no
Yeah.
judgment. But
Yeah.
but then you see those other ones who have this was my goal. Let's say, I don't know, you wanted to be a police officer, and and you can just see that diligence has paid off. And you know that eventually that young guy or that young gal that had this goal of, I don't know, working for their city police department
Yeah.
is eventually going to be doing something far greater than they ever had imagined.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, just you think about how big the Bible is. If
Yeah.
you read a page a day, and
Yeah.
you just didn't stop. You would read the whole thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it might seem like that's hard, but it's harder to read 10 pages and get back to it, read another 10
Yeah.
pages and get back to it.
Totally.
And so it's just a simple thing. Like I can do 20 push-ups today, or maybe that grows
Yes.
to 100, whatever it is. But it takes me how many seconds? Like
Yeah.
when you're young in unloading the dishwasher, impossible.
Oh,
And
so
you're like,
impossible.
yeah, you're like this is going to take me 2.5 minutes, and I'll
Yeah.
be done. And no one else has to do it, and I can be like, hey, no one else has to do that today. No, it's fine. I don't mind. I like doing it. So
Yes.
it becomes a different thing where I'm doing. I always say like the sexiest thing I can do when I'm 55 is the dishes. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, no, I got it. You're gonna do the
Yeah.
dishes? Yeah, of course. And then you do them, and it's like, wow,
Oh, those
let's see.
clean countertops,
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah.
No
Yeah.
dishes on
Exactly.
there. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's something that could
Mm,
break the paradigm of dishes and dishwashers. Rory Sutherland is a marketing guru that's on a lot of social
sure.
media posts. He actually had this idea that blew my mind was you have two dishwashers and
Hmm.
you have a magnetized clean label and a magnetized dirty label.
Hmm.
And he said, you don't even have to put your dishes away, ladies and gentlemen. You just take the clean dishes out as you need them from the dishwasher. You use them and then you put them in the one labeled dirty. And then
Yeah.
once that one is clean, you just switch the labels.
Hey,
I was
way
like,
to solve the problem.
man,
They're already put away.
they're already put away.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you need a lot less cupboard space, honey, if we could just get two dishwashers. Anyway,
Yeah.
she's game for it. So now we have to, anyway, that's
Yeah.
what a great idea. And who would have thought of that other than
That's
Rory
great.
Sutherland or whoever gave him
Yeah.
the idea? But
No, it's brilliant. Yeah, I mean it's you put a lot of stuff in there, and yeah, and anything it's extra, like that big salad bowl that you use once a
yes,
month, yeah, you put that thing back away. Then that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
well, that was a great idea. But I've got a question for you, actually, Pete.
Please.
Uh, uh, what are your thoughts on QAnon?
Um, my thoughts on QAnon and all things like that are
Yeah.
people are desperate for some kind of reality that isn't possible for them, and
Yes.
so. Uh, When I think about QAnon, I think about, oh, don't worry, something's coming, and Donald Trump's still going to be president in 2 weeks. No, he's not. No, he's not. Did he win the election? Did he lose the election? I don't know, right? But I know
Yeah.
that Joe Biden was the president. And was
Yes.
there cheating? Obviously, everybody cheats. Can someone point me to a room of yes and no ballots, Donald Trump? And no, there isn't one, right? So
Yeah.
we're just going to have to go with what we've got. But if you think that there's a kraken that's going to get released, let me tell you something,
Uh-huh.
there's not. And then to what end? you
Yes,
know um,
exactly.
when that election happened, and rightfully so, we went to the courts because that's what we do here in America, and the Supreme Court's like, they probably mishandled those ballots in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, but
Uh-huh.
you know what, we're not taking the case. Threw it back to us, America, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's their prerogative. What I wish they would have decided something, sure, but was it the right move to avoid it? Probably, and because the QAnon folks just want this thing that
Yeah.
isn't productive for everybody, and we're supposed to be uncomfortable politically because we don't all
Yeah.
get our way. And
Right.
Pete would say, freedom is your ability to tolerate someone else's freedom.
Yeah. That's good. That was actually the answer I figured you were going to get me. But it's like that's the perfect answer because people are always looking around for a savior or somebody to do the heavy
Yeah,
lifting. And
yeah.
of course, what do we love as children? Watching those
Oh,
cartoons
yeah,
of somebody coming in and whether it's the prince that kisses the sleeping beauty or whatever the case might be that we were given.
yeah.
But oh man, that's the best answer I've heard. And
Oh,
it's fun, like Occam's razor says, the
yeah.
simplest answer is usually the correct one. And this
Right.
is why we need to read books, ladies and gentlemen. And the
Yeah.
older the better in some cases.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah.
eat the rich is an ancient phrase, so
Uh-huh.
like every time someone's like, well, the rich are getting richer, like, oh, are they? Are they
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. This is a tale as old as time, friend.
Yeah. And
And
then I'm told, you don't understand. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't understand.
yeah.
I get it. I'm too dumb to eat the rich. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah. And the a good friend of mine, Miles, British military fellow,
Mm,
and he and I would have great conversations, and we were talking about the sword of Damocles,
mm,
and and I was like, you know about the sword of Damocles? And he was like, well, it's something we learned in school in
mm.
the UK. And I was like, wow. I mean, they got you reading some good books back in the day.
Yeah.
And so, being able to think back to like the Odyssey or, other books like that. Um, I've done a bunch of volunteer work, behind the scenes work, I'll say, in politics.
Mm,
And I was reading the works of Seneca and
mm.
his diary, his notes to another friend who was in politics
Right.
around the time of Christ in the Roman Empire. And I mean, the tale is old as time, really. Human nature does not change. The
Right.
stuff that he was writing to his friends and cohort in the Roman Senate and other places could have been written today.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that people were still following the investment ideas of of those in politics
Sure.
back at the time of Christ as they are now.
Yeah.
So,
When you read books, you start to realize those echoes that come back through, and people who aren't
mhm,
steeped in history often will say history repeats itself. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But like understand like how these things work, and when our elders have written the most important words of their lives, take time to read
yeah,
those things. Respect yourself enough to respect their words.
yeah,
Because all of that stuff is in there. Yes, of course, the rich have money and they tend to gather more of it during their lives. Luckily, we have a system where that stuff rotates, and all of a sudden, the
hmm,
guy who was rich, their family is broke because their kids get fucked up or whatever. You know,
yes,
there's always more to that story, right? With all of this
oh,
stuff, and so whether it's like when everybody's like, yeah, I see Hitler, I'm like, how come you never see Robespierre? How come you never see
yeah,
that guy? Because
yeah,
he's the other guy that you want to avoid, and they never
oh,
want to see these things because
yes,
it fit it. And this is not just QAnon, this is all of us. We all just want to
yeah,
stay in our little hallway, and
yeah,
making your hallway wider takes a lot of work.
yeah. It's like that you mentioned Robespierre,
Yeah,
and there's so many those well, like I guess Winston Churchill, probably because he got to write history, said that history is written by the victor,
yeah,
which really bothered me when I was a teenager and I was worshiping history
yeah,
and
yeah,
realizing like, oh man, you mean there's other people that have a different perspective than me
yeah.
and or my teachers and what I've been taught. And you think about the whole Machiavellian and
Mm,
and man, those thinkers back then, where you would like to think that they just had this long-term point of view because of their position in history and
yeah,
how closer they were to the ancients than
yeah.
we are today. And you just think, wow, like those ideas, they're still alive in the hearts and minds of people.
Sure,
It's
sure.
just we think we have it different because we have the black mirrors uh
Yeah,
in our lives, and so many black screens all over the place, and that whole um there's a parallel that I like to make. I think it's Lake Diana. It's in Italy, and they
mm,
would offer the ancients of the time, well, of our time, they'd be ancients, but they would make sacrifices into that lake, and it was referred to something like a black mirror.
mm.
And you could the idea of what they thought at the time is these people were passing through the black
Yeah,
mirror, and there was a
yeah,
world on the other side of that, and
mm,
just that whole spiritual mindset
yeah,
that they must have had to have that framework of we're sending the sacrifice through the black mirror, through the surface of this lake water,
hmm,
and nowadays it'd be like people would say, oh well, how stupid and backward is that thinking?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, people swim every day and want to get into that lake, and it changes who they are when they come out of it.
yeah,
There really is a transfer when you do something because swimming is a meditation.
yeah.
It's a way to. Yeah, it's incredible. Is that Lake Diana? Is that tied to Diana the Moon, or is that a different Diana?
I'm I'm not sure. I'd have to do
Okay.
some more research on it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
something that I was looking into a few years ago. So
Mm,
some of the
mhm.
information floats out of the way, and there might be a listener saying, "No, it's this." He's
Yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right.
Well, I ask because you never know, and it probably is tied to,
Hmm.
uh, a, a god from Italy
Well,
or
those
whatever. But
principalities and powers were
sure,
timeless, and
yeah,
as we probably like the Romans when they would come to a new civilization, they knew who the territorial spirits and principalities were, and they would sacrifice to them,
yeah,
and that's why
yeah.
their pantheons were so big. They would just add them into their pantheon of gods, and they'd be like, "Hey, we're going to sacrifice to you in the way that you like. Just know that we're not coming to take over you. We're going to
Mhm.
liberate these people and help them become Romans like us."
This is a thing that's different today. The U.S. we have a separation of church and state, and we
Mm.
cast that to all people in all places in all countries.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and this is just the silly examples I use, but it's just so clear
Hmm.
as a bell when you hear it. So when we were in Afghanistan trying to establish a new government, it was called the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. So Islam is in the fucking title of the country.
Yeah.
And when you go to Iraq, it says Allah Akbar on the flag.
Yeah.
And so we can ignore here in the US the fact that religion is important to people and how they do it, but it does not. We get our head kicked in with the religion all the time
Hmm. Hmm.
because we don't think that it matters, and yet we have all kinds of religions here. They aren't Catholicism, but we have these ideologies
Yeah.
that guide our demos, our people,
Yeah.
and we don't abide that stuff very well, and so we pay a cost. We pay a heavy cost to ignore the value because
Hmm.
it's separation of church and state. State can't decide what church you have to go to, but it's not religion release from religion. Religion's all around us. We
Yeah.
partake of it in certain ways. Anyhow,
Yes.
it makes things complicated when you ignore the role of religion on a people.
Oh yeah, and then understanding the well, it'll get termed holy war, but
Yeah,
to them it's just regular war.
yeah, yeah. They just call it war around here. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
Yes.
another funny one. Again, like when you read books and you start to learn these things, when someone says, utopia, or they talk about utopian ideals, and I'm like, you have to understand that Moore was writing a satire.
Yeah.
He was making jokes. He and Erasmus, really smart guys. The storyteller's name is the guy who purveys nonsense. But
Yes.
but when you say that to somebody, even if they're smart, you're like, have you read Utopia? And do you
Yeah.
understand that utopia and utopia is a play on words, and one means no place, and one means the thing that you want, and that's sort of the conundrum. Like we hate that kind of knowledge because we aspire
Mm.
to bigger things, but we don't want to abide like how
Uh
challenging these bigger things are to accomplish.
yes, it's like why does Dante's Inferno have to have so many levels?
Exactly. Yeah. Can't we just do it with an app?
Yeah, that's right. And you know what's
Yeah.
this is actually I love that you're mentioning this because people are still, especially on some of the podcasts that I listen to, they still want to know where Atlantis was
Yeah.
and where are those pillars of Hercules. Because daggone it, I think I could find that place and
Hmm.
get it back to the surface.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's like the QAnon thing, right? Where you
Yes.
have this world you want to create, but it's not a real world.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
time that had, and there's been 1,000 places that have no longer exist because people couldn't inhabit it, whether it's underwater or
Yes.
it fell, whatever, right? That's happened all the time, but we fixate on these things for whatever reason because humans do that stuff.
I think it's because we're created to be creators and we don't realize the power that's within us
Yeah.
to build
Yeah.
what we want to build or the cooperation to work with other people
Yeah.
and to build with other people, whether it's community or a business or even a lifestyle or an opportunity. And there's so many people that embrace van life now
Right.
or other things like that. And off in their own little worlds. And I get it. Some people are doing it for mental health reasons or other things like that. Or, it's kind of there's that. You remember the Chris Farley thing about him yelling about living in a van down by the river.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and or your teacher saying, "Man, if you don't get these mathematical equations, Michael, which I guarantee I'm not going to, so stop trying to
Yeah.
force this equation into my head." And it's like you're going to be living in a van down by the river, and now you say to that teacher, if you could find them, who's retired on a government pension, you can say, "I can't afford a van,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to go live down by the river,
Yeah.
but I got a house, so I'm good."
Ah,
I
I
can.
my buddy started a law practice in Vegas. He was going to do divorces and other things. And I met a guy who was a ditch digger, wore overalls into his meeting, had a big old long crazy beard. That guy was
Yeah.
a multimillionaire. And I was like, I
Wow.
was always told that ditch diggers didn't make any money. He's like, well, you dig enough ditches, you buy a bobcat. Then you buy another bobcat and you hire people to drive bobcats. And I don't dig ditches anymore. I just print money. You're like,
That's
wow,
good.
this is great, right? And so we were lied to. Like, yeah, of
Yes, we
course, if
were.
you do something, you can make money and go on forever with this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then build that generational wealth for the next the children and the grandchildren to come along and replicate that same model
Yeah,
of it's like Henry Ford would say, I don't have to do everything. I just have to hire the guy that knows how to do it and
yeah,
bring the right people in that you can build something with.
yeah,
And yeah, that's a great example of uh that you think that's verboten and it's oh that's not glamorous and but yeah, isn't that the best kind of wealth is the stuff that people don't know that you have
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and that you've built like I do get the bravado and the ego and Freud warned us about that and I was more of a Carl Jung man myself but back in the college years but just to think of why we do what we do and then how much we actually want to broadcast and become the cautionary tale instead
yeah,
of listening to the cautionary tale and uh it's so much better. Oh yeah, Mark Twain said it. It's better for people to think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
yes, yeah, yeah. It's that's a great thing. And like in human nature is one of these things where there are patterns, and it's fine to get a pattern wrong, but
Yeah.
when you see them, they're still patterns. And so, like, yeah, I noticed something about this person, or I have a friend, very good friend, who has had a lot of tumult in his life
Mm.
recently, and that has led to the conclusion of his relationship. And
Mm.
I was able to say to him, like, yeah, kind of saw that coming. And in his world, it's like, how could you know? And I'm like, well, you've had all this tumult in your life, and you can only withstand so many of these things. And so it becomes a very likely thing. You started talking about strife at home, and I'm like, inbound breakup, like,
Yes.
am I omnipotent? No, I just know that, like, if you lose your job, if you have to downsize your life, if you have to move in with your girlfriend who, they've lived separate lives, all of a sudden the next steps, are there, right? And you
Hmm.
have to make sense. And so it's not that, it's just, you're just familiar with life and how life
Yeah.
works. Like when parents lose a kid, very good chance there's going to be a divorce there, because
Hmm.
who's got time to take care of one another in that situation? It's such a heavy hit that the
Yeah.
cost is greater than you realize. Certainly
Yeah.
people survive that, but
Hmm.
it's just common that you have these kind of big things, and they change your life, and that's just a common thread. It's not anybody's fault. It's just,
Right.
that's how humans work.
Yep. It's the payoff. It's the price that's been paid for. We can pay the price to receive something good, and then we pay the price when something bad happens too.
Yeah,
And I've heard somebody say once that never say "Why me, Lord?" on the tragedy if you're not
yeah,
willing to say "Why me, Lord?" on the success.
right,
How did I
yeah,
get picked to have such accolades and notoriety?
yeah,
Uh, and we just think, oh, that should just be our default or the end game.
yeah,
Whereas we get to say, uh, you know, oh man, I can't believe this happened to me again.
yeah.
And somebody said, well, I don't know how you pick such good lottery numbers, but
Exactly. Yeah, or you be like, oh man, I won this lottery. Oh geez, what am I going to have to do to pay for this?
uh-huh.
What negative thing is coming? How do I not fuck this up? Then you start applying pressure to yourself, and you instantly start making it worse, because
Yes.
that's life.
Yeah.
It's,
And that, oh, the seeking words of wisdom, let it be.
mhm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Beatles. But
Yeah.
of knowing how just to not pick at that scab, whether it's a good one or a bad one, and just
Yeah.
let it be and enjoy the ride for what it is. And
Yeah.
to say, you know what, I came to knock it out of the park every day. Uh, and that was what I hoped of myself. And for however long the ride lasts, I think I took advantage of
Yeah.
what was set before me. And
Yeah.
I didn't bury any talents in the dirt, hoping
Yeah.
that, that, oh, of course I'm going to screw it up. I'm Michael. That's
Yeah.
just what I do. I mess it up.
Right. Here comes Mr. Screw Up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There is another side of that, though, and this is just like my philosophical brain thinking about this,
Yes.
because I learned a lot in combat, and it's that we can't understand the amount of mistakes that we make. Like we're just constantly making mistakes, and you can't account for them. And so even when evidence is flown into your
Mm.
face, like you fucked this up, it's so unconscionable. Like there's no way that I screwed this up. And as soon as you're like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I've made bigger mistakes than that. Maybe I did forget to start the dishwasher or whatever these minor
Yeah.
things are that were so resolute. Like, I did not do that. And it'll start a fight. But
Yeah.
if you're like, yeah, it's certainly possible. Fuck, I fucked up way more. And it's taken a lot of load off of me where I don't have to be perfect.
Yes.
Not that I expect failure, but it's like,
Yes.
yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe I misheard that. Yeah, the other day we were at this Airbnb and they had a box of washcloths and it said makeup on it. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. And the one from the other side says wake up. And really it was the same one just flipped around. And so my brain fixed it. So it said wake up.
Okay.
And I'm like,
Gotcha.
oh, and they said make up and wake up. And they're like, there's no wake up cloth. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. You're right. Maybe there's not. Does it? Did I just read makeup and then so it turned out that was what happened. So I totally misread this washcloth
Funny.
and made this ridiculous statement thinking it was clever. And instead of saying like, "Oh, you ladies are wrong," I'm like, "Oh, you're probably right. I probably screwed that up." And it was just, and it's a more mature way of looking at some of these things, and because my ego's not the boss of me
Yes.
anymore,
Right.
I can admit fault, and all of a sudden I do make a lot of mistakes, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter. We
Yes.
all make mistakes all the time. What am I going to get? Like, we have shows. People sometimes are 10 minutes late. They have technical problems. Who cares? Who
Yes.
cares? It's fine. We're going to do okay.
Yes. That's right. And I would say in our North American education system, that's where the programming begins of being the worker bee or the good little boy or
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
and don't make waves. And, if you're bad, you're going to go sit in the corner with a pointy little hat. And so we learn that there's no profit and there's no value in a mistake
Yeah.
or screwing up. And instead of, if you're saying, well, I don't know how to spell, then you start asking, and boy, wouldn't it be nice if somebody just told you about this book that you could just go and it's all alphabetized and you could just look in
Yeah.
but I actually don't know how to spell the word. Okay, well, I think it starts with a D. I guess I got to start in that section.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so then we can struggle through that dictionary
Yeah.
to find actually what we're looking for instead of somebody just saying, oh, it's like, now you got to use your eraser and clean up your page. And it's probably verbatim of what an elementary school teacher probably said to me. Look at what a mess you have. I know, but I finally figured it out. Look at the bottom line. And maybe that's why now, many years ago, I always asked myself, when my accountant is trying to show me the whole package, I just want him to get to the bottom line.
Yeah.
I don't need to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Whoever, and they're like, no, this is all important. I realize that, but I'm thinking back maybe to elementary school when my teacher was berating me for a messy page. And I was like, yeah, but look, the bottom line, it's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's one of the, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a weird thing. And as we all navigate our weird worlds individually, but try to be collective, it's hard. I'm ambidextrous. And even that alone, like people are like, no, you're not. And I'm like, all right. And then they want to test me, like here I am. I'm telling you, I'm ambidextrous. It's okay. And it's okay to go, oh, no kidding. That must be neat. And having that conversation, the most common conversation is, well, hand do you eat with? And I'm like, depends.
Yeah.
You know, what hand do you write with? I'm like, well, it depends, but primarily my right. You're right-handed. Oh, okay, because I brush my teeth primarily left-handed. And so we get wrapped up in these things, and so it's like my teacher. 'Cause I would write like this as a kid with both hands at the same time.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
and just depending on which hand would take over at which time, I don't know. But instead of teaching me that that was a gift
Yeah.
and something unique and special in my little list of gifts as a kid, it was like, no, you have to do things a certain way. Now they didn't punish me with a stick or nothing like
Yeah.
that. I wasn't that era, but um, they might have taught me, wow, you can write with both hands. I can draw with both hands at the same time. It's not a practice skill, but I can. If you said draw some teddy bears, I could, with both
Yeah.
hands, right? They never taught me how to use that. Imagine if instead of teaching kids to not make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, you took what was there. Yeah. And like, yeah, of course. Hey, you went through that dictionary. You keep doing that, and you're going to learn every single word in the English language. And now all of a sudden, you've got this new quest to go
Yes.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Clarence Thomas is like, I'm going to master the English language. That's how I'm going to defy my blackness, defy their whiteness, and get
Yeah.
over all the things. I'm going to master this language. I don't care if you like that guy or not. You have to admire the fact that
Mm-hmm.
when he writes, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree with him politically, but you have to appreciate the respect his peers have for his writing as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing thing. And so, how do you set up? And I don't know what the answer is. How do you set up kids to have that path? You're ambidextrous. Oh my God, let's get you in front of someone to show you how to use these incredible tools. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah. And my maternal grandmother had said that the reason they wanted the European children to be right-handed was for battle. And so
Yeah,
they'd be soldiers, and everything is set up for the right-handed person.
it's probably true.
And
Probably
so
true.
we would get scolded in kindergarten, elementary school, those early ages, if we were writing with the left hand or both hands, crack the whip.
Hmm.
And then because I come from an agrarian background on both of my families, my mom would say, you guys have to be ambidextrous, because if you lose your right arm, you still have to be able to write. And I'm
Oh my
like,
God. Yeah,
I'm
right.
8 years old. I'm 6 years old. Do you have to tell
Yeah,
me I'm going to lose my
I'm gonna
arm? I
lose
don't
my
want to,
arm.
I
Yeah,
don't want to lose
yeah,
my
it's
arm.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah, that is wild. When you think about all of those things, those lessons, those things you learn along the way. How many of them are we just unconscious about now, and
Hmm.
just are things that we believe that aren't actually rooted in anything? And then we'll say them every now and then. I'll say something. I'm like, why do I believe that?
Yeah.
And then now we can look it up and question, like, oh, why is something called, like the other day I learned like why we call croissants, at least the version that I
Oh,
read, right?
interesting.
There's probably another one. Yeah.
Okay.
And so all these things that we think we know are really just things that we ape, and
Hmm.
I search these things out. Like, I wonder why that is the case. And then you dig in, and I love etymology for that reason. If
Yes.
anybody watching, etymology is the root of the word. Like, where did it come from? When was the first time
Yeah.
they wrote it? And a lot of it gets murky and dark. Like, we don't know why the word dog is dog. It doesn't make any damn sense. And so you look that up. And so right now, if you're thinking, what's an etymology? And what do you mean we don't know what the word dog means? Of course we do, right? Now you go look up the etymology of dog, and you're on your way. Like, you're
Yes.
learning something remarkable, and you realize again just how much you don't know about anything that you think
Yes.
you know about.
Yeah, totally. And for me, it's looking at the stars.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Uh, my so my mother taught us the constellations, and she gave us this long spiel of, on her mom's side, they had boats and they navigated by the stars, and it was always the maternal line. Their responsibility was to teach the constellations to the next generation. And I don't forget those memories that I have of with my mom or my grandmother of looking at the stars and talking about the name of the constellation and getting to know those things. And my wife and I will still do that. We'll go out on the back deck. We live in a small town, so we can see the stars, and we can see Cassiopeia. And we know that, and I learned this, is when the Big Dipper is on its side or upside down, you're going to get rain.
Oh, no kidding.
And when the Big Dipper is right side up, it's going to be dry. And I told that to some friends of mine. some church friends of mine, and they were like, "Oh, come on!" And I was like, "Well, you watch that Big Dipper, and you see how it's positioned in the sky, and if it's on its side or upside down, you're getting rain, dollars to donuts."
Yeah.
And it's just those kinds of things. I think, man, like that wealth of information, whether
Yeah.
Library of Alexandria or past generations,
Yeah.
that information, that value is enormous.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Farm knowledge, that's 3 inches right there.
Yeah.
Just like all these things, you're like, how did I know that? Well, and some of these things are true. And you're like,
Yeah.
my index finger's not 3 inches. And you put, I'll be damned.
Yeah, that's right. And how those Italian or the stonemasons from Italy or Portugal,
Yeah.
can just measure with fingers and digits and hands. I guess that's why they're called digits.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy. Well, listen, we've done this for about an hour. So anything
Yeah.
else you want to cover? It's been great. It's easy chat and just everybody gets a chance to get to know you, and
Oh man,
appreciate you coming on. But
just
what
what
else
a
you got?
great conversation
Yes.
to talk. And it is that idea of that human community. And we don't have to be we're so ingrained to be on pick a team color,
Yeah.
and it's like one bird, two wings. And it's just for human nature to be that human, we're human beings, not human doings. And
Mm,
just
love it.
that whole idea of we can be friends. There's even
Yeah.
songs about that. And we realize that desire for community and humanity, of conversation, of realizing that if you remove all the pot stirrers and the shit
Hmm.
disturbers,
Hmm.
man, there's some great people around us.
They sure are. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, and this kind of goes to the bigger theme that you talked about, everybody
Yeah.
gets spun up about AI. First off,
Ah,
if it's
yeah.
a language model, not that big of a deal. It's just predicting the next most likely word.
That's right.
So don't get freaked out about that. But
No.
also, as everybody's like, you have to incorporate AI. The software and hardware industry is always trying to get you on the merry-go-round, and they want
Yeah.
you to change courses all the time.
Hmm.
And I promise, if AI becomes something important, you can get on whatever you want. But right now, like I'm working on a movie. Do I need AI involved in that movie? No.
Hmm.
And when I do, all right, it'll be available. But we get so crazy about what's going to happen with AI
Yeah.
when we forget that when we all first got clone PCs, clone, we were going to store our recipes on it. That's what we were going to do,
Yeah. Right.
and all the
Yeah.
other things that came from it, we never could have imagined. So,
No.
so let's not borrow trouble. Let's just do our own work. And
Yes.
if you can do your own work, you're going to be fine.
That's right. And just enjoy every moment.
Yeah, be a being, not a doing,
Yes.
and you'll be all right. All right, I'm gonna wrap this thing up, everybody.
Okay.
Michael Klassen, make sure you go check out. Tell them where to find your stuff
Oh,
so we can do
yes.
this.
5ampodcast.com.
It's so good,
That's
you
it.
guys. You're gonna love it. All right, I'm gonna hang up here. I want to say goodbye to you in a second, everybody else.